Do you want to build a Slime Against Humanity commander deck? What? No? Let me try to convince you. Slime Against Humanity is a 3-mana sorcery that creates a 0/0 trampling ooze creature token with X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is 2 plus the number of Slime Against Humanities and or ooze cards in your graveyard and in exile. It also says that you can have as many Slime Against Humanities in your deck as you want. You can play Thrumming Stone. It gives all your spells Ripple 4, which means whenever you cast a spell, you look at the top 4 cards of your library and you can cast all the spells that have the same name for free. Normally, this is a very bad card in Commander, since you can't play cards with the same names. But Slime Against Humanity says you can. So if you have enough Slime Against Humanities in your deck, you can cast all the Slime Against Humanities in your deck for free. Pyromancer Ascension is a 2-mana enchantment that gets a quest counter on it whenever you cast a spell that has the same name as a card in your graveyard, and it copies all the instants and sorceries you cast if it has 2 or more quest counters on it. Spellweaver Helix is similar. It's a 3-mana artifact that says when it enters the battlefield, you exile 2 sorceries from your graveyard, Slime Against Humanity, and it copies all the spells you cast with the same name as the exiled cards. And you're not making the tokens you make with Slime Against Humanity smaller by exiling them, since Slime Against Humanity also counts the Slime Against Humanities in exile. With Doubling Season and Primal Vigor, you're not just doubling your spells, you're also doubling the number of ooze tokens you make and the number of counters on them. Mia Style Master is a 6-mana 3/3 creature with backup 1, which means when it enters the battlefield, it'll put a +1/+1 counter on another creature, and that creature gains all the abilities of Mia Style Master until the end of turn, which are, whenever this creature attacks, for each attacking modified creature you control, we create a tapped and attacking copy of that creature, and we exile it at the end of combat. A creature is modified if it has an equipment, aura, or counter on it. All of our slimes have a +1/+1 counter on it, which means Mirror Style Master will copy them. We can cast more Slime Against Humanities by playing some cost reducers, like Locket of Yesterdays, Goblin Electromancer, and there's a lot of others. If we can reduce the cost by 2 or more, and have a Stormkin artist, we can cast them for free, since Stormkin artist makes a treasure token every time we cast a Slime Against Humanity, and that pays for the green mana. We can get more Slime Against Humanities in our hand with Sphinx of the Chimes. It allows us to draw 4 cards by discarding 2 cards with the same name. Having Slime Against Humanities in our graveyard is nice because it buffs the ooze tokens we make with Slime Against Humanity, but it's even better if we can recast them. We can recast them from our graveyard by playing Harness the Storms, which let us recast a Slime Against Humanity from our graveyard every time we cast a Slime Against Humanity from our hand. Or we can play Leer and Past Them Flames. They both give all the Slime Against Humanities in our graveyard flashback. But if you don't want to pay mana for them, you could overload Music's Mastery to cast all the Slime Against Humanities in your graveyard for free. We can get more Slime Against Humanities in our graveyard so our slimes get bigger by milling with a bunch of different cards. We can make them even bigger with some ooze pumpers like Bio-Waste Blob, which copies itself on our upkeep if we have our commander out. And it gives all of our slimes +1/+1. It grows our oozes exponentially fast. Or we could play Biogenic Ooze, which puts a +1/+1 counter on all of our oozes on our end step. Just choose how big you want your slimes to be with Lost Legacy, Surgical Extraction, Evasive Surgery, Selective Memory, or Test of Talents. These cards can exile any number of Slime Against Humanities from our library. This will make the ooze tokens we make very big, since Slime Against Humanity also counts the Slime Against Humanities in exile. Secret Salvage can search our library for any number of Slime Against Humanities and put them in our hand. You could get more than you need and discard them to hand sides so you have a lot of them in your graveyard. You could also run some +1/+1 counter synergies like Ordeal of Nihilea for ramp, Envoy of the Ancestors for life gain, Kami of Celebration for card draw, and more. But who should be the commander? You could play Rishka as your commander so all your slimes can tap for green mana. Or Kodama of the Westry. It can get you a land every time a slime hits an opponent. Umori the Collector is also a good option since it lets you cast your Slime Against Humanities for only 2 mana. Or maybe you want your slimes to be bigger, so you play Vorinclex to double the number of counters you put on your slimes. But if doubling once isn't enough for you, you might want Bristly Bill to be a commander. It has an activated ability that lets you double the counters on all your creatures for 5 mana, and that puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature when a land enters the battlefield. Aragorn the Uniter gives a creature +4/+4 whenever you cast the green spell, and also does a bunch of other things when you cast different color spells, and it's 4 colors. Taigam Sidisi's Hand or Taskar the Golden Fang can be your commander if you want to make them big by milling more Slime Against Humanities in your graveyard. If you want to get more slimes, not more counters, you might want to consider Adrex and Nev to be your commander, since it doubles the tokens you make. Orc the Raid Mother can copy your spells by tapping 2 creatures, and it makes 2 1/1 goblins when it enters. If you want to draw more cards, you can play Flubs the Fool. Don't let this cute frog fool you. It's actually a really strong commander. It lets you play an additional land every turn and draws you a card whenever you cast a spell if you don't have any cards in hand. But if you do have cards in hand, you need to discard a card. We want Slime Against Humanities in our graveyard, so it's fine to discard them, and it's super strong if you don't have cards in your hand. But if that's too risky for you, Falcospara Packweaver can also draw you cards. It lets you look at the top card of your library, and you can cast the top card of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control. As a cherry on top, it enters with a shield counter on it for protection. You have plenty of counters on your slimes. Why not turn them into cards? Cody could be your commander if you like the idea of choosing how big you want your slimes to be. Since Cody has an ability to kind of give an instant or sorcery you cast Cascade for instants and sorceries, you could use that ability on a Slime Against Humanity to cascade into Test of Talents, if that's the only 2 mana instant or sorcery in your deck. And it's 5 colors, so you can play all the cards we talked about in this video. Here's a weird one. You can play Illuna Apex of Wishes as your commander. It can mutate for 6 mana. Mutate is a very complicated mechanic that basically means that you put that creature on another creature you control. Kind of like an aura. Anyways, the important part is that when it mutates, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent. Then you put it onto the battlefield under your control. So the only non-land permanent in your deck is Thrumming Stone. So when you mutate, you're guaranteed to get Thrumming Stone. Once you have Thrumming Stone out, you can cast the Slime Against Humanity, and you can probably cast all the Slime Against Humanity in your deck for free. And all the Slime Against Humanities you cast will be super big, because you exiled a bunch of cards when you mutated with Illuna. But you need a creature for your commander to mutate on, and you can't play any other non-land permanent in your deck except of Thrumming Stone. So we need an instant or sorcery card that creates a creature token. And that's exactly what Slime Against Humanity does. Play some protection spells so they don't destroy all the creatures you just made, and you can kill all your opponents next turn. Or give them haste with cards like Song of Totentaz to kill them this turn. I have one last commander to talk about, but before that, please like the video since this is a very new channel, so it'll help me a lot. Thank you. Shalai and Hala is an excellent commander for a Slime Against Humanity deck. It says whenever one more +1/+1 counter is put on a creature you control, it deals that much damage to target opponent. With all the counters you're putting on your slimes, this can do a lot of damage really fast. And it works really well if you give it lifelink, since it's dealing so much damage you can gain back that life. Or even better, giving it infect, so you only need 10 damage to kill an opponent. Which commander will you choose if you're building this deck? Please tell me in the comments below, I would really like to know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Bye bye.